I have to defeat the Ender Dragon and win one game of Fall Guys in under 3 hours? Or you get to change my profile picture for the next week. And for every 100,000 likes, I have to restart the challenge. Please go easy on me. You can do it all live right now.
Am I wrong for returning home after I found out that my husband booked first class for him and his friend while I got economy? My husband and I are both 30 and haven't been on a trip out of the country for years. While he gets to go every year with his best friend, his reason for going with him is because they both go to attend sporting events. This year, my husband told me I could go with him and his friend since they were visiting a new destination. He paid for my ticket and everything else since I'm a stay-at-home mom and have no job. The kids were left with my mom. However, when I found out that he had booked first class for himself and his friend while I got economy, I just couldn't hold my tongue. I confronted him about it, and at first he refused to discuss this. When the argument got heated, he yelled, "I paid for your ticket for God's sakes. Isn't that enough?" Then kept on about how I should stop acting like I was royalty, and that if I come to think about it, even economy is fine for me since I technically don't work anyway. I cried because of what he said and decided to just not go. He changed his tone and started begging me to just go with what he planned, but I declined. I went to pick the kids up from my mom's house, and he came back 3 hours later huffing and puffing about what happened. His friend sent me a text calling me entitled and said that this was the reason why he didn't want my husband to take me with them, and I just proved his point. I did not respond, but I blocked him since he's gotten increasingly rude over the past few months. My husband says I keep crying about being excluded, and this is what happens when he finally decides to include me. Am I wrong for not settling for economy? By the way, he's perfectly capable of financing the trip. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. This is your husband? This is supposed to be the father of your children, and he's gonna put his friend over you? Oh my, if I was the friend, I would feel like shit. If I was going with my girl best friend, I'm like, yo, you and your man go sit in business together. I'm good in economy. Why would you want to do that? Like, and the fact that he threw it back in your face that he paid for the trip. No shit, Sherlock. She's a mother of your children. You should never throw that at her. Like, what else do you want her to do? She pushed out 3 kids for you. Was it 3? I don't remember, but...
Queen Elizabeth II died at the age of 96. Press tradition, from the moment she was crowned king 70 years ago, her obituary and documentary have already been completed. It is updated several times a year, vetted by the Royal Office. Archive standby. Today, we will follow these most classic highlight moments of the Queen to review her life. Elizabeth Alexandra Mary Windsor was born on April 21, 1926. Her father, the Duke of York, is the second son of King George V. Because at that time, the crown prince was inherited by his uncle. It had little to do with his father's line, so Elizabeth didn't have any pressure, grew up carefree. But people's calculation is not as good as heaven's. Edward VIII, who became king, gave up the throne for Mrs. Simpson, an American celebrity who had been divorced twice. Elizabeth's father took over the throne, became George VI. At first, he could not adapt to all kinds of things. Even the speech stuttered. The film The King's Speech was based on him. Soon the dull life is over. The German Nazis set off the Second World War. The royal family became the most staunch spiritual pillar of the British people. Crown Prince Elizabeth also entered the support force in the rear, become the first officially trained car mechanic in the royal family. Finally, the Nazis were defeated. Victory in the war. Elizabeth and her lover Prince Philip are also married. November 20, 1947, the two had a grand wedding. A year later, the eldest son, Prince Charles, was born. At this time King George VI was in deteriorating health. So Elizabeth began to perform official duties in place of her father. February 6, 1952, when she visited Kenya, received the bad news of her father's death. According to the law, she immediately became Queen of England. After 16 months, officially crowned Queen Elizabeth II, the Queen became the monarch of England. In fact, it's not as simple as just waving your hand when you see it on TV. The Queen reads the documents sent by various ministers and Downing Street 10 every day, as well as various meetings and meetings. She is the most visited monarch in British history. Since she became king, she has made 325 official overseas visits. There is hardly a day in the year without work. In 1986, she also visited our Great Wall for photos. In the busy, her 4 children also grew up to the age of starting a family. In 1981, Diana married into the royal family. The Queen's identity added a mother-in-law, but her son Charles made her very upset. Well-known reasons for Camilla. Daughter-in-law Diana finally divorced from the royal family, after her tragic death in a car accident in 1996. It also makes the public's dissatisfaction with the royal family rise to the extreme. The Queen never expected it. Many years of royal foundation will collapse because of a former daughter-in-law, after the British royal family arrived in modern times. In fact, it is a mascot-like existence, although the Queen has the right to consult, praise and warn the government, but she can't have any political stand. That's why it's time, an important reason why the British royal family can continue to exist. Because even if there is a problem of people's livelihood, at most, the Prime Minister with real power will be replaced, which will not affect the royal family. But in this case, there are still calls for the abolition of the constitutional monarchy. Activists feel, in modern society, everyone is equal. There should be no royals, nobles and commoners. Moreover, the large amount of money that pays taxes every year is handed over to the royal family is even more exploitative. Plus the fuse of the Diana incident. The clamour for the abolition of constitutional monarchy is growing louder. At the same time, a British colony often jumps out to demand independence. Basically, we rely on the Queen's gentle and firm personality charm to make these crises transition smoothly one after another. But now all these contradictory pressures are spread over Charles. What the future holds is really hard to say. Although today Charles first returned to Buckingham Palace with king status, at the door was welcomed by some people, but we all know that since Diana left, he is very unpopular with many people. This is also the reason why the Queen was still 96 years old and refused to abdicate, just for fear that Charles will become king, the royal family will be lost. Of course, the strongest one on the surface of the earth, Camilla, became the Queen. It's also a unique legend. April 2011, Charles's eldest son, today's Crown Prince William and Kate are married. Next up is the second grandson Harry marrying the American actor Meghan. But this is the beginning of a nightmare for a new royal era. Since then, various events have never stopped. Harry broke away from the royals. Meghan said the royal family discriminated against her. They also sold the copyright and made a film. The film tells their sad story. In contrast, not to mention the beloved Princess Kate, even Camilla was flattered. Here's a little detail. Speaking of William and Kate, the video accompanying the commemorative film is the happy scene of the two people's wedding. When it comes to Harry and Meghan, what the camera showed was a clip of the two of them spitting about the royal family when they were interviewed by Oprah Winfrey. In fact, a week before the Queen's death, news had already leaked out, because Meghan and Harry's recent magazine interview once again revealed that the royal family bullied them. The royal family was furious. Not only did the contradictions between William Charles and Harry intensify, even directly put the Queen's anger to accelerate the deterioration of health. The will was also amended. Then, everyone thought it was gossip. Now it seems that this is really possible. That is, the Queen just died. Now, everything has been mourned. Look, after the Queen's funeral, there will be more incidents. While worrying about family affairs, she continued to deal with various state affairs. During the mask lockdown, the Queen once again showed her backbone and spiritual strength. Inspire the whole people, but it didn't take long. April 2021, after the death of her beloved Prince Philip, she was used to having a lover always behind her. The Queen looked so sad at the funeral. For prevention and control reasons, no one can sit beside her. It also captured the most lonely moment of her life. After Philip's left, the days go on. This June, the Queen celebrated her 70th anniversary on the throne. The whole country celebrates the longest reigning monarch in British history. Looking back on her life, sure enough, it was just as she had vowed. She dedicated herself to all the Commonwealth countries. Queen Elizabeth II. May you rest in peace.